Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and look at the 3D viewer provided by the Smithsonian. So if you want to browse to 3d.si.edu, you can find this main website for the 3D scans here at the Smithsonian. So go ahead and navigate to this first tab, Browse Models, and it's going to give you a list of all the browsable 3D models that the Smithsonian has. We're going to navigate down to the Lincoln Mills mask and learn how to use the viewer here. Alright, so this is the basic 3D view. It gives you a little welcome. To move around the canvas, go ahead and left click to orbit. Alright, so I can orbit around. If you middle click the mouse button and push it up or down, you can zoom, and you can also scroll your mouse wheel. And you can right click to pan. Alright, so now let's look at some of the other menu features here. Up here on the left, the first one is the tour feature. You can either click this or press T to tour the model. Alright, so tours are a fantastic way that you can appreciate the history behind the model. Alright, so let's go ahead and click this one and let's start the tour. So to navigate the tour, you can hit left and right on the mouse arrows. I'm just going to go ahead and click this button to go to the next queue, and here we go, and then I can just read these paragraphs, and when I'm ready I can hit right on the keyboard. If you hit left on the keyboard, you can go back to the previous slide. Alright, so go ahead and go through this tour in your own time. You can hide these notes on the right by pressing R so that you're just in the model view of the tour, and then you can press it right to press the R button to get it back. Alright, so great. So let's go through the next tab here. This is the Annotations tab. If I click it, it'll show some points on the model, okay? If you click any one of these points, it'll reveal an annotated pen, okay? So they're location specific most of the time. It'll tell you something specific about that location. And again, in your own free time, go ahead and I encourage you to check these pens out. Alright, so let's just keep going down the line. I'm going to unclick the tour, and I'm going to unclick the reader. Again, this is R, and this is P for pen. And if you want, you can view the screen in full screen by pressing F. Right now I'm already at full screen, so you don't have to worry about it too much. So let's go on to the next tab. It's a little pencil with a drop down, and then you can really get into the nitty-gritty of personalizing your models here. So the very first one is the viewer options, and you can change the layout or upload other models into the viewer. So for example, if I wanted to have a double model here and then upload a new model, I could compare and contrast the two. Alright, so that's pretty neat. The next one is the shading, normal mapping, and lighting tab. So I'm going to switch back real quick to just a single viewer. And as you can see here from the first tab, you can choose to change from your shading mode from normal to the normal mapped and into a faceted triangulated version of the model that isn't smooth. So those are pretty neat, especially if you're into video games. You can see how in normal video game engines they run these types of faceted maps and smoothing. Alright, so the next tab is the types of colors, the lighting. So this first one is for the ambient color. The next one is for the diffuse color, and the third is for the specular color, the highlights. Alright, so you can change any one of these. You can change the color, and just have fun with this. Alright. You can also adjust the strength of the opacity, the specularity, which are the highlights, and the reflection if you want a metallic Lincoln, which is pretty neat. So go ahead and change any one of these if you want to change and get a better idea of what that looks like. Okay. The next tab is the occlusion, which is just a fancy word for saying obstruction or cavity. So if I take this reflection down and the specularity down a little bit, you can see how the cavities are getting darker. Okay, those are the occlusions, or the kind of the nooks and crannies of the model. So you can make those darker. And then finally, it's the photo texture, or the photographic texture on the image. Right now we're using the image from the actual plaster cast of Lincoln's mold. You can also just take that all the way back down to just the pure geometry. Okay? All right, that's pretty neat. So the next tab is the lighting tab. So if I click this, it shows that in the editor that there are 3 lighting sources. There's a key light, a rim light, and a bounce light. All right, so you can change, again, any one of these by clicking the first. I can change the color. I can change also the position of the light by just dragging it around. And I can switch to any one of these 1, 2, and 3 lights. Okay, and again, you can change the intensity of those as well. All right, so the next tab is the environment tab, and it's the background of the image. So you can change this from, by checking the library, having a blue gradient, an all black gradient, all white, or my favorite, too much color. All right, inside the editor you can change any one of these, and you can also, which is pretty neat, change the grid lines, okay, by going white to whichever color you want. All right, and the last feature is the measuring tape. To use this, you just click the measuring tape and click once to lay a pen, move it around, click twice, and you can see that his forehead was 4.5 inches. There's a lot of brains in there. Another feature is here, this cross section. This is really, really interesting to look at. I'll select this first one, and it basically sends a plane across, and you can move that position back and forth, which is pretty wild. Looks like he's going in and out of water. And change that so that, you know, he can disappear and reappear, and you can also rotate around. So that's a little neat one. All right, so once you're done, you can do one final feature, which is the share feature right here. By pressing S, you can share this model out with your friends. You can just drop this into Instagram, Facebook, Google+, and you can also embed it if you're building a website into an iframe, and they'll be able to view your model, which is pretty incredible. All right, so thanks very much for trying the viewer out. Go ahead and share what you've done with your friends, and I can't wait to see what you've done.